everyone, my name is Lindsay Gales, and today I'm introducing you to my VR pilot using Google Earth. This is called Chameleons Around the World. So, when I was trying to decide my pilot proposal, I was trying to figure out how I could connect my content to this particular project. Now, I teach second grade, so I said, what am I going to do that's really going to cater to their age level? Now, this year we are starting a new curriculum called Wit and Wisdom our literacy curriculum. And within this curriculum, every grade level has different modules. Now, second grade has 4 modules consisting of about 31 to 32 lessons. And each module surrounds a theme. So the first module was all about seasons of change, specifically fall. So students really dove into several different nonfiction and fiction books that all centered around fall. And it's a beautiful curriculum. We really enjoyed connecting between books. And one of the books we read was called A Color of His Own by Leo Lionni. Beautiful book. And it talks about this chameleon who is really, really sad because he doesn't have his own color. And as a chameleon, as we know, they camouflage. So elephants are gray and pigs are pink, but chameleons blend into their surroundings. So this chameleon decided that he was going to live on a leaf forever, and he would forever be green. But then he realized that in the fall season, leaves change, and so he started changing colors along with the leaf. So he was changing from green to orange to red to yellow. And long story short, we really dove into learning more about chameleons. That was part of this program. So we really talked about what it means to camouflage, and even investigated chameleons a little bit and talked about why they camouflage. Why do they have this adaptation? So I wanted to take it a step further, hence Chameleons Around the World. So I wanted to dive into a tour where we could learn about the various chameleon species and see their habitats worldwide. So without further ado, let's take a look. So we first are going to start in Madagascar. And the first chameleon is called the panther chameleon. So I really loved the idea of utilizing slides because I really wanted my students, they're not solely just learning about these locations, but really they're trying to see what different types of chameleons there are, and I wanted to introduce more facts to them. So this location is where most chameleons can be found, and they live in various parts of the island. They thrive in tropical rainforest biomes, and they're called the panther chameleon because they have markings similar to a panther cat. And, I wanted them to look at the feet. These are tongued feet, kind of similar to a fork, because they need to grab onto the branches. They also have a prehensile tail, kind of like a monkey, so that they're able to wrap around the tree branches. So then I wanted to give my students a street view. Okay, and I showed another beautiful picture of this panther chameleon and inserted a little look closely at his feet and the coloring. And this just kind of gives students a taste of what other areas in the world may look like. Now, I will say the one flaw, especially a lot of the locations I'm talking about are in Africa or the Middle East, and there's not as many street view or 3D capabilities in these parts of the world. So I really wish there was a way that I could specifically decide where I wanted to show my students. It's really a guessing game. So that is one aspect during my play tests that I really got frustrated with, because I had to keep dropping the person into different places on the map to really pick the areas that I wanted to show. So this is not necessarily showing a tropical biome, but I just really wanted to see the different locations. Okay, so next we're going to learn a little bit about the veiled chameleon. So we're hopping to Arabia. And if I could play music, I would play Arabian Nights right now. So, the veiled chameleon, beautiful chameleon. So I wanted to teach my students a little bit about the various, adaptations or features that animals have, because they usually have them for a reason. And I really found it amazing. These chameleons have this headpiece, and it's called a casque. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I'm assuming casque, which is like the crown or the headpiece on top of their head. And it actually helps collect dew and moisture, and it slides down into his mouth. Since they live in the desert heat, and with water being scarce, it's really quite amazing. They have this feature to help them collect water. They also are called the veiled chameleon because they kind of have this like veils or like crests around his eyes. Okay, and as we know, they can swivel their eyes 180 degrees to help them see potential dangers, and they can move their eyes independently from one another. Now, the veiled chameleon lives in the Arabian Peninsula and many other hilled Middle Eastern areas. Okay, so I can kind of give my students a little view. So this is an area that's really hard to find street view, but I did want to kind of have my students get the depiction of a sandy, deserted area. So this kind of shows students how very, very different this part of the world is from ours. Okay. Now we are hopping all the way to Kenya to discuss a little bit about Jackson's chameleon. Okay, so the Jackson camellia is native to East Africa, but you'll soon see in a couple minutes we're also going to hop to Hawaii, where they were also introduced. And sometimes this is called a three-horned chameleon because the boys have three horns. They have one on their nose and one above each of their eyes. And I wanted to dive into, why they change colors. They do it as a survival instinct, but they can also do it based on their mood. You can tell how they're feeling, how healthy they are, just by looking at their colors. Okay. And then I also have been putting little snippets of the slideshow, snippets of information at the bottom. So they live primarily in montane forests and woodlands. So this gives students a little glimpse of what Kenya looks like. Again, a part of the world that's really difficult to find a street view. This could also just be my unfamiliarity with Google Earth. I never knew that this was even a possibility of making these stories. Okay, so hopping to the next. Now we're going to Hawaii, and I snapped another picture of the Jackson chameleon, just explaining, animals can also be introduced to other areas of the world, so I had to throw this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful image. I would so rather be here right now than in the snowy area that I am now. Okay, so then, second to last, we are going to Cape Town to learn about the Cape Dwarf chameleon. Now, the Cape Dwarf chameleon is a threatened species due to the habitat loss and land transformation. A beautiful, beautiful jaw-dropping area. So I was very happy to stumble upon this location. Okay, so give students like a 360 viewpoint. Okay, and then the Cape Dwarf. So we learn they're incredibly slow-moving creatures. They actually wait for their prey to come to them, so they really don't expend any energy at all. And kind of fun fact, their tongues are twice the length of their bodies, which is crazy. And obviously they're a dwarf, so they are much, much smaller. So they are specifically around the Cape region. Okay, so then the last location is Tanzania to learn about the Fisher's chameleon. again, I've said this a few times, but Tanzania really doesn't have any street view capabilities, so I'm really not able to give my students like an in-depth look at what Tanzania may look like on foot. But the Fisher's chameleon also lives in Kenya and Tanzania, and they could be found in the highest mountains of those rainforests. They're very shy, they're very secretive. And again, they love to live in hilly, dense forests so they can blend in. Now, a lot of these chameleons can be pets. So I learned chameleons really can live anywhere from 2 to 20 years depending on proper care. So that's a little bit about my tour. When I play tested it, I at first was just putting in the various locations, and I really wanted to bring it more to life. So that's when I started adding the slides. I wanted to give facts and give pictures. I wanted to really connect my students so they understood, you know, where we're going and why and what we're learning. So overall, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you very much for viewing my project. Have a wonderful night.